this. Are you there, Myra?
Yes, I am. Can you guys, can I be heard okay, or am I intermittent? I would just do a sound check before I start Sean's introduction.
You're good with us online, Myra, anyway.
Paul, is it okay there?
Yeah. You guys, oh yes, we can hear you, sorry.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Something...
All right, well, it is an absolute pleasure for me this morning to introduce Sean Ferris. Sean's a lifelong resident of Hamilton. He's made his way through the undergraduate degree in psychology by working as a meat cutter in the years ago. And I do believe he might even tell you a little bit more about his meat work with meat. Upon completion of an MBA from, I'm going to mispronounce this, I think, Schulich School of Business, Sean had various financial, operational, and program management roles at Bell Canada. As a lifelong Hamiltonian, he was eager to give back to his community when he received an opportunity to join the team at Habitat for Humanity Hamilton in 2013 as the Director of Operations. Sean's currently the CEO of Hamilton, leading a team of 25 staff and engaging over 400 volunteers last year. Sean's currently volunteering with the City of Hamilton as a citizen member of the Development Charges Stakeholder Subcommittee and with the Bay Area Climate Change Council's Home Energy Retrofit Implementation Team. Sean's is married. He's a father of 3 teenagers and 1 dog who loves to cheer on the Hamilton Tiger-Cats and remains humble thanks to his performance in a local bowling league. And just on a little side note, I had the pleasure of meeting Sean myself, along with a lot of other women in law members in 2012 when Sean was, we partnered with Habitat for Humanity team in the Women in Law build. And some of our Rotarians will remember that because we donated quite handsomely to that initiative and built a home down on Matman's Drive. And that's where I really became familiar with Sean, and we developed a lifelong friendship. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Sean to our Rotary Club this morning.
Thanks so much, Myra. Can everyone hear me online?
I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah, great.
Good. Wonderful. So it's great to be here today. We have, engaged with a number of Rotary clubs, but this one's a special one. Right when I started at Habitat back in 2013, we had engagement with this club through Ron Stevens, who was a former member. We work closely with Ralph Button to get our T-shirts and so on for volunteers and so on. And of course, as Myra said, this club contributed to our kickoff with the Peach Festival and our engagement there, as well as very generously contributed, I think it was back in 2014, to our build on Natman's. But just so I can know my audience, are there any longstanding members of Rotary here who I've spoken to before? Okay. All right, wonderful. So some of this may be an overview. There is some new stuff as well. So I'm happy to be here. Like I said, it feels like a club that's very close to our heart. In fact, I think even a few of your meetings were hosted in our boardroom back in the day, probably about 10 years ago. So anyway, I'm very, very glad to be here. So I'm very casual and laid back. And so I'm just going to give a very basic presentation here, regarding who Habitat is, what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. And I forgot to start my little stopwatch here. Myra said that I should talk for about 20 minutes. And if I'm not careful, I'll go on and chew up your whole meeting. So let's get right to it. So who we are. So Habitat, of course, is in the affordable housing business. We are a registered charity, and our mission is to bring communities together to help families bring strength, stability, and self-reliance through shelter. And everything we do centers around delivering on that mission. So it's very, very important to us. Our vision is a world where everyone has a safe and decent place to live, which of course is very aspirational as a vision should be, and I'd say very timely given everything that's going on in the world right now. Overall, Habitat for Humanity operates in 70 countries, over 70 countries around the world, and they've helped over 35 million people. So you can see from this map, we're all over the place, and we're very glad to be. But it does lead to some misconceptions about habitat, right? A lot of folks think that habitat is about disaster relief and help in developing nations. And I'm here to share that, in case you didn't know, we're building right here in town and trying to serve our local community as well as contributing abroad. So in terms of our structure, and you can't necessarily see all these photos I put in here, but that's okay. So we have Habitat International out of the States. Habitat International was started back in the 60s at I guess, a Christian commune. It was a farm called Koinonia Farm. And that was a place, which was founded back in the 40s, and it was unique because it had people of different races working side by side when, racism was far more prevalent. And so out of that, you can see these two folks in the picture here in yellow, Linda and Millard Fuller. They joined the farm and decided, let's start this idea of partnership housing, because there was people in working on the farm, working the fields, who didn't have a place to live. They were living in a shack, and so people pooled their resources and they built this home for this family, and the family paid for the home over time, what they could, in order to contribute back to this concept of partnership housing. And that's really where the idea of habitat began. Linda and Millard took the idea over to Africa, to the Congo, what's known as the Republic of Congo right now, and they did it again, and it worked. And they said, heck, if we can do it here, we can do it anywhere. So they brought it back to the States, and by 1976, Habitat for Humanity was formed and kicked off in the States. So they're located just outside of Atlanta today, and so and continue to operate. And as I said, over 70 countries around the world. So Habitat International is the governing body. Then there's Habitat Canada. That is the body that basically supports all of the affiliates across Canada, right? So Habitat Canada doesn't build houses. We have 48 affiliates like Habitat Hamilton that are actually the boots on the ground that go out and directly do fundraising, directly build houses, directly serve the community, engage volunteers. Habitat Canada also does a fundraising as well and contributes to affiliates with that, as well as governance, legal issues, safety, and all that stuff to ensure that we're compliant and so on. So that's Habitat Canada's role. And of course, I'm representing Habitat Hamilton. We are one of 48 affiliates across Canada. We're a registered charity, incorporated in 1991, and we have our own board of directors, our own articles of corporation. So we are an individual organization reporting into Habitat Canada. We call it a federated model. And so what that means is that each Habitat affiliate across the country has its own sort of geographic territory, its own catchment area in which it serves. So we serve the greater area of Hamilton, and as well as Haldimand County, Six Nations of the Grand River, and Mississaugas of the New Credit. That's where we operate. Part of the reason for the territories is it's really tough to do what we do, and it would be even harder if we were competing with other habitats for land and resources and so on. So that's the way we operate. So what we do? Well, we build houses, number one, but we act in various ways. So you can see from this chart at the top, we act as a construction company, doing new home builds, renovating existing homes, and doing warranty and other repair work. We act as a social service agency because the groups that we serve are generally more vulnerable populations. They're typically renters, and so they need support in terms of the transition to home ownership and exactly what that means, how to be a good homeowner, how to be a good neighbor, how to be an appropriate partner, and how to budget and things like that. So we act in that capacity with our beneficiaries as well. Sorry, I've got a fly here that's buzzing the tower. We also act as a financing agency. So one of the misconceptions of what Habitat is that we're giving our homes away. Not the case. What we do is we bring in an independent appraiser, and they give us a value for the house, and we sell the house to the homeowners, and we hold the mortgage ourselves. And so that means that, when something dramatic happens, say like a global pandemic, and people are put out of work, first thing we do is call up our homeowners and say, how you doing? Are you still working? Right? And we can adjust that mortgage payment to ensure that people can still put food on the table and clothes on their backs as they struggle through tough times. Obviously, to do this, we do a bunch of fundraising in various capacities, but we also have a retail arm as well, and that's our Restore, which you may be familiar with. Restore is something we're really proud of. We only have one at the moment, but Restore is a Canadian invention. It was created out in Winnipeg by a bunch of students who said, how do we divert waste from landfill? And now Restore is really one of our greatest fundraising opportunities, and it's in over 70 countries around the world. So go Canada and go Restore. Obviously, we have to have all the regular accounting, marketing, and other support functions as well. And I think what's really important in terms of our perspective in Hamilton is that whatever we do, we have kind of consumers of an experience. We have shoppers at our Restore. We have staff who work, in our office, in our Restore, and in the field. Of course, we work with volunteers and we work with donors. And at the center of all that is our homeowners. So in a nutshell, this is what we do. In terms of delivering on our mission directly, the classic habitat model is such that we build homes with as much donated materials, as much donated professional services, and as much volunteer work as we possibly can, right? As well as donated funds, of course. We sell that home to an approved homeowner family, and then their mortgage payments get reinvested back into the programs. So the more homes we build, the more homes we can build. All of those monies that come in as mortgage payments are designated in what's called the Fund for Humanity, and all of that money has to go back to serving the community. So it's a very sustainable model in that regard. And so in terms of our homeowners, so again, in the traditional model, we can't serve all communities. There's certain criteria. So you can see there's 5 folks from the Dan Beston family here, family that we served about 10 years ago. So all of our homeowners must meet certain criteria, right? They must be residents of Hamilton for at least 2 years because we want to serve the local community. We don't want folks coming in from out of town and benefiting from the what we offer. We want to serve locally. They must be Canadian citizens or permanent residents. We certainly wouldn't want to put somebody in a home ownership opportunity when they may run the risk of having to move back to a home country. And of course, they have to have the ability to pay a habitat mortgage. They have to have a steady income, and of course, we do a credit check. In addition, anybody who gets approved has to have a willingness to partner. And the way that we demonstrate that is every approved family contributes 500 volunteer hours. So if you can imagine, especially as a single parent, those who are working 2 or even 3 jobs, it can be extremely challenging to deliver on this 500 volunteer hour commitment. But it certainly demonstrates their commitment to the program and their willingness to partner, but also gives them a sense that, this isn't being handed out to them, they're earning it. And, as I mentioned, they're also paying for it, right? So this is not a handout, it's certainly a hand up. And finally, we want to serve folks who demonstrate a need for affordable housing. So generally speaking, the folks we serve can't get into a conventional mortgage, usually because they can't save up for a down payment. And in this market, also because they can't get a mortgage that would pay for a $600,000+ home, which is generally the cost these days. But in addition, they have to be in some sort of inadequate, unsafe, or unaffordable housing. Okay? So why we do it? I think this kind of goes without saying in this market, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to start with the housing continuum. Many of you may have seen this from CMHC. What I would say is the housing continuum ranges from homelessness, which we hear a lot about, right to market housing. And I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we play in the space, second to the right here in the affordable home ownership space, right? That's our bread and butter. That's where we've traditionally worked. But I'll come back to our mission statement. And really what we're trying to do is build strength, stability, and self-reliance. And we're in a housing crisis. So we've started to do some additional work in the supportive housing space. So it's not traditional home ownership, but I'll get into more detail there in terms of how we can just drive more of an impact locally. So, in terms of our housing crisis, many studies have been done on the benefits of housing, and we've heard it from our homeowners as well, right? Stable housing drives improved mental health. It drives improved physical health. People in stable housing tend to have better educational outcomes, better employment, more stable employment. And I don't know if you've heard, there's a variety of studies out there as well that say Hamilton rates as high as number 3 as least affordable city. It was 2 years ago. Hamilton was number 3 in all of North America. So compared to New York City and San Francisco and Vancouver and Toronto. So those numbers, those rankings change from time to time. But number 3, for our little city is really remarkable on such a great or a broad scope of cities.
Is it Toronto and Vancouver?
I don't remember the actual study, and every study varies a little bit, but yes, Vancouver is up there, Toronto is up there, and there's other different pockets. It depends on how they measure affordability. So how do we do it? Well, I mentioned the Restore. There's a shot of our little Restore on Nash Road. For those of you who haven't been by, come on by. The Restore manager is currently painting one wall orange, so it'll be a little bit different than the last time you visited. So yeah, the Restore is our social enterprise, right, with a mission to support habitat. All of the revenues from the Restore go to pay our administrative costs. So my salary, keep the lights on and all the rest. So that means when somebody donates $1, that entire dollar goes towards serving the mission, right? And it's not to say that administrative costs are a bad thing. They're a necessary thing to make a charity run. But at the same time, it's certainly a great value proposition to say your entire contribution can go directly towards the mission. So we're excited about that. Everything in the Restore is donated. About a third comes from big box stores. We go to Costco over here 3 times a week, and we get the things that are returned to vendor. The vendors don't want it. Costco doesn't want us to throw it in the garbage. We come by and we pick it up, and we sell it for. We start at 75% of the price that's listed on the website, and if it doesn't sell, we drop the price over time. And we're doing quite well in this single store. In 2022, sales were over $1.6 million. So it really enables us to have appropriate staffing and make sure that we can continue to grow and serve the community. And we have a second Restore in the works, so you'll hear more about that. Hopefully we'll have a big splash when we land our second location. So a couple of, go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting. So you talked about Costco, but other donations come into the Restore, like the average homeowner could say, I'm not using this device anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thanks for that. About a third comes from big box stores, so Home Depot, Costco. About a third comes from small businesses, say like a kitchen cabinet company that is refreshing their showroom and has old things. The other third comes from folks like you and I. People who are renovating their homes, or people who don't want to throw something in the garbage because it still has some useful life. And so it's a great opportunity to make sure you keep something at a landfill, but also anybody who donates, since we're a registered charity, we can provide a charitable tax receipt for any donation of product. So donations of used product can't be used in the construction of our homes because we offer a warranty and so on and so forth, but they can be resold to the public. And so the tax receipt is based on what somebody will pay for that. The CRA says it has to be fair market value, right? And so fair market value, in essence, is what somebody will pay for something. And so that's how we determine what the tax receipt is. Now, we can't accept everything. We do have all sorts of different types of home renovation and different household items, furniture, appliances, and things of that nature. So we encourage you to call in advance, talk to Gail, and she'll determine whether or not something can be donated. She'll also determine if we can come and pick it up for you. Okay, great. Oh, salvage program. So this is another program within Restore that we offer. So one of the ways that we get product is folks will say, I'm getting a new kitchen. Can you come take mine out? We have a group of firefighters who have odd schedules who volunteer for us, and they go into people's homes on Tuesdays and Thursdays and remove kitchens. We have the folks set up their kitchens appropriately, shut off the water, shut off the electricity. We'll pull out those kitchens and resell them in our restore. It's really one of our biggest sellers, and it's a unique product offering. It saves the homeowner money because their contractor isn't pulling it out, right? It keeps the product out of landfill, which is likely where it would have went if a contractor pulled it out. And it generates funds for us and produces tax receipts. We've sold used kitchens for upwards of $5,000 from time to time. So it can be a pretty substantial tax receipt and certainly a substantial contribution to our organization. Repair, rescue. So back in 2020 in March, everything kind of came to a screeching halt. We were very eager to serve our community, and we had to figure out a way to do that. We didn't have volunteers on site, but we still had staff that we wanted to keep employed. And we got some grant money, starting with the Hamilton Community Foundation. Also, Electric Cares provided us funds. What we did was we found folks in the community who had exterior repairs to their home that were necessary for them to be safe and healthy, and we went in and did some repairs for free for approved families. So here is an example of the first home that we did. This gal was using a walker. You can see she has about 7 or 8 steps up to her front door and 4 or 5 steps up to her back door. The back door didn't even have a railing on it, and her front door, the steps were crumbling and the railing was falling apart. So we started this program where we'd come in and kind of refresh, rejuvenate, and repair people's homes. So this was the first. We did 4 that year, including roofing and eaves trough and other waterproofing around people's homes. And this has proven to be another opportunity for us to serve the community, people who couldn't otherwise afford repairs, but to keep their existing home, in a way that was safe for them to live in, especially in a pandemic. So that program continues on today. We also started a repair program with City Housing. So City Housing, as you may have heard, has close to 500 units that are sitting vacant. And we think it's a shame in a housing crisis that is the case. And the reason for that is not because City Housing isn't willing to pay to get them done. It's because contractors are scarce. And there are opportunities out there for contractors for them to make more money. And so these units sit unfinished. So we've brought in our students, we've brought in our staff, we've brought in our volunteers, and we've been refurbishing. You can see some before and after pictures. These are actually not the same units, but it'll give you a sense as to what we're walking into. These units were well used, right? And needed refreshing before we could move, or before City Housing could move other families in there. So it's mostly going in, fresh coats of paint, a little bit of cleaning, sometimes a lot of cleaning, new flooring, right? Some trim work, sometimes some cabinetry. And so, in the course of, about 4 to 6 weeks, we can make these units available. So last year, this program started, and we've completed 8 units so far for City Housing, and we have 3 more on the go. So really excited about this opportunity. And going back to the housing continuum, this isn't home ownership. This is rent geared to income. So we don't select the families, the residents. We just take a vacant unit and we make it livable. And so we're excited about this. And part of the reason why we're excited about this and the repair program is we don't have to get permits. We don't have to get site plan approval, right? We don't have to buy land and compete with developers. We can just get right to it. We can get right to work and serve a family. And it also gives us work to do and a way to serve a community while we're waiting for permits, right? While we're waiting for, different things to get done, clearances, so that we can actually get to building new homes. We also have the youth build program. So we engage youth as much as we can, but the biggest way that we do that is we have both high school boards on our build sites every single day. So wherever we can, it's our new housing builds, but also it could very well be in repair, City Housing, other projects as well. So through the high school boards, they have a program called the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, OEAP it's called. And so OEAP sends out their students under the supervision of a teacher. They're all safety trained. They have tool training. They have all of the appropriate gear and safety equipment that they need. And they hands-on use our build sites as living classrooms. And that way they can get a sense as to where they might fit into the trades and where they don't fit in the trades. I always say to the students, if you don't like drywall, that's great. Don't be a drywaller. Lesson learned, right? Focus on what you love. And a lot of these students move on to lucrative careers in the trades. I'm really excited because we got a fellow by the name of Dominic who went through the OEAP program. He was finishing up just when I started. He started his own business, and now he's back with us as a volunteer. And he's great. And so he's super appreciative of Habitat, and we're super appreciative of what he has to offer us. And so moving ahead, what are we building right now? Well, we're building on Sherman Avenue. You can see a mock-up. It's a 5-unit town here. We are at the decking stage, so you can see the photos on the right, and there's some students on site, OEAP students who are in the photo there, actually putting this house together. So if you drive by Sherman Avenue North, it's just south of Barton Street. That's our site. We also have general volunteers as well as OEAP students, and even some of our homeowners from time to time working on their 500 volunteer hour commitment. So you'd be welcome to sign up and come on out as a volunteer if you're so inclined. Another one we're excited about right now is we're building on Six Nations land. It's another 5-unit townhome. We're doing this in partnership with Habitat Heartland, which is located in London, but includes territory out as far as Brantford. I'll never forget, it was September of 2013 that folks from Six Nations visited our office and said, how can we work together? And it took 10 years almost for the stars to align and for us to figure out how our policies and our practices and our missions meet. And we're there. And so we're really excited to have our first build on Six Nations land. And this one should be completed in year. So we're really excited about this opportunity. And then, how we do things? Well, we do things through partnership. And I pulled these pictures up last night really quickly. Myra, does this look familiar to you? On the left-hand side, you've got vacant land. And where that vacant land used to be now sits a house. And you can see there's a sign there, a partial sign, the site of the Women in Law build. Bring back memories, Myra?
Oh, it sure does. What an amazing experience.
Right? So we work with partners like Women in Law, which Myra led. We work with the Hamilton Halton Construction Association. We just completed 2 homes with them on Catherine Street. We work with the Hamilton is Home consortium of affordable housing providers, which includes City Housing, Kiwanis, Indwell, various other not-for-profit housing folks here in town, and try to figure out how do we tackle this problem together. We also work with professionals. So we listed out here DeSantis, McMata Homes, New Horizons Development Group, and soon to be Waterfront Shores Development Consortium. So whoever is willing to partner with us, we will find a way to work together and a way to tackle this housing crisis. And then so I just highlight some of our notable achievements. I mentioned OEAP. Last year we had 50 OEAP students on site, which is really exciting because, frankly, COVID put a damper on things. We had over 400 volunteers coming out of COVID. So we didn't have a lot of volunteers over the past couple of years. So we're really happy to bring our volunteers back. We have land where we're setting up another semi-detached build in the beach community near Natmans. As I mentioned, we had record-breaking sales in our restore. We completed 10 repair jobs. And we started our negotiations for the partnership with Waterfront Shores for our build on Pier 8. They'll be building 1,600 units, and we expect to get about 80 of those. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then I'll finish up with our key challenges. So we compete with a variety of other organizations for a limited pool of funding. So that's always a challenge. The availability of land is really, really tough for us, especially when we're competing with big developers who have deep pockets and long time horizons. Price inflation, everything costs more, right? And I put shortage of trades. There's also oftentimes a shortage of supplies as well. So being able to find professionals and the supplies to do the job are a challenge. And then human resource limitations. So there's still a lot of folks, pardon me, who are timid about COVID, not eager to come back on site. And as well, just trying to find the right folks who can come out and support us is always a challenge. So, there's various ways that people can get involved and support Habitat Hamilton or other habitats. Obviously, there's opportunities to volunteer on our build sites, on our restore, in our restore, or on our board or committees or events. Obviously, there's an opportunity to donate funds or product to the build program or product to the restore. There's an ability to advocate for us, or of course, shop at the Restore. And then there's other things that we might have thought of. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we were at Putney's, and the folks at Putney's were teaching our staff how to do a proper truck inspection, right? And so it took probably about an hour of their time, but it's invaluable to us because now we have professionals who have shown us how to do it right. So whatever people have to offer, oftentimes it can be a benefit to us. So we encourage you to reach out if you're interested in working with Habitat to try to tackle the housing crisis locally. We'd be happy to meet with you. Okay. And with that, questions. Oh, and 25 minutes.
Excellent.
Hey, Sean, I have a question, or it's more about, I think, something that you could address. There's a specific during our build. You might recall, we had a company, for example, that wanted to donate granite countertops, okay? And sadly, that was something we had to decline. I wonder if you could just kind of speak to that a little bit.
I didn't catch all that.
No.
Can you hear me now? Sound check, sound check.
I can hear you. It's just a bit of an echo, Myra.
Okay. I just wonder if you could speak to donations as far as the value of donations. And there are sometimes, sadly, that Habitat for a home build can't accept something like granite countertops or something like that.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. And so we're actually flexing on that a little bit, Myra. So what we want to do is we want to build equitably, right? So take, for example, the 5 units that we're building on Sherman. In the day, we might have somebody come out and say, we'd like to donate granite countertops. And we're building simple, decent, and affordable. And oftentimes we would say no. Nowadays, we say yes, but we want to provide the same thing to all 5 homeowners because they're neighbors. And they're going to be in each other's homes, and we don't want to create animosity, where somebody walks in and says, well, how come you got granite countertops and I got laminate, right? So we also have, appraisals for each of these homes. And to make it easier and cheaper on us for the appraisal purpose, we want to keep the homes consistent as well. So there was a time when we would deny donations because they were too luxurious. Now we just try to make sure that it's fair and we accept all the donations, that we can possibly take, provided it's fit for the home, right? If it fits with the design and we can provide it to all the homeowners in the build, then that's certainly something we would accept. Does that answer your question, Myra? Great.
Cool. Martina, you have a question?
It's right behind, what's the name of that?
The Wholesale Club.
Master. Been to that as well as the one in Grimsby, and they're both fabulous places just to go, even if you don't buy anything the first day. I think we all have the opportunity to educate ourselves on what's available, so we know what's available there, as well as, you have something like you say to donate. Much more valuable place if the opportunity presents itself to donate furniture there. But we were looking for a side table for my stepdad in his retirement home. I mean, it was a perfect place to go to find something there at reasonable cost, but you have everything there.
Yeah, the thing is, we can't go to a supplier and order widgets, right? It's really about what's coming in through the door. When my family asks, hey, should I go to the Restore for this? And I say, if you're looking for, a very specific, item, and in large quantity, then maybe it's better that you go to Home Depot if you want a hinge or, doorknobs or something of that nature. But, a lot of people I hear say, you know what, I came in looking for a lamp and I walked out with a dehumidifier. It's kind of a bit of a treasure hunt. And we hear all the time, oh, I went to Font Hill and then I went to Grimsby and now I'm at Hamilton. I'm going to Burlington next. So it's a lot of thrifters, a lot of treasure hunters, and so on. So everything in the Restore is sold free of tax because we're a charity. We're allowed to do that. And as I said, everything is priced based on online prices, starting at about 75% of the online value. And then if something doesn't sell, we just start dropping the price from there. So it's a variety of stuff. We can never say, what's going to be in the Restore. People come in and they say, I'm wondering, do you have weather stripping? And I would say, we don't right now, but wait 15 minutes because who knows what's going to come through the door, right? So.
Myra, you were before me if you have a question.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Gotcha. Phil's asking
Sean,
one, but sorry, I
Sean, I
missed.
just wonder if you could speak to the repair program, and is there any sort of, for Habitat, is there sort of, I know with the home ownership program, there's quite a criteria to meet for the families to apply to Habitat to see if they'll meet the financial criteria. But this repair program, is there any financial recovery for Habitat when they'll go out and they do some of these repairs for these homes? Is the homeowner, do they make any kind of a donation back to Habitat, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for what we call repair rescue, the free repairs, everything is covered by grant money based on approved grant structure. So that we come out whole. The city housing stuff, we bill the city for everything that we do. So again, we're not investing any of our donated money into that. We have the city pay us back, and we're not looking to make money on these projects. But the benefit to us is when we have downtime, when we're waiting for permits for Sherman Avenue, we hosted volunteers and engaged students, and they still got to deliver, to the community, and they still got to, I guess, have experience on the tools. Our staff got to remain employed, which is very important to us, and it was paid for. Right. So we were able to deliver these units that were sitting vacant anyway. We were able to do it at a discount from what the city would have paid, and yet we remained whole. So no donated money went towards any of these repairs, save and except those free repairs that we did, which was really part of the grants that we received. Does that answer your question, Myra?
Tina?
Yes, it's quite simply everything. Thank you, Sean. I do remember your presentation from a number of years ago, and I remember Myra working on that house down at the lake there. Everything that you've told us today about Hamilton, is it replicated in Burlington or in Halton, I should say? The programs and how things are done.
So I'm going to say, in short, no. Every habitat is a little bit different. Habitat Burlington, and I don't want to speak on their behalf, but their big focus right now is building tiny homes, again, with students. And they're shipping those tiny homes to reservation land up north, maybe even to Six Nations as well. So that's our primary focus. I don't believe that Halton Habitat is doing any kitchen salvage right now. But there have been times when they've invited us into their territory so that we could salvage kitchens for them. And I do understand that they have a huge clothing recycling program. They brought on some folks from Value Village and got appropriate equipment. And so one of their biggest revenue sources is accepting donated clothes. So as opposed to donating your old clothes to a Value Village, which is for profit, don't let them fool you. You donate them to various locations for in Burlington at Habitat for Humanity, Halton, Mississauga.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I work for a charity in Burlington. That's why I ask if because there's much about what you've told us this morning that takes place in Hamilton. I've got my fingers crossed that I can connect with the Burlington group for the youth that we work with. So thank you.
Tina, feel free to reach out to me. I'll happily make a connection if you like.
Great. Thank you.
Phil, you had a question.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been involved through Stevens, Ron Stevens, doing the trailer safeties and things like that. But I also brought students there through Bishop Ryan and their co-op program and the OEAP program. So for I think 4 years, you guys had Bishop Ryan students at the warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're working with them. So
Absolutely.
it was really cool because I introduced Ron to the OEAP teacher up there. So it was
That's
kind of neat
wonderful.
how they worked together. One quick question. If a group like us wanted to do like a one-day thing helping you guys out, is that something you do, or is it a long-term commitment?
Oh, absolutely. We do one day thing. We one of our biggest revenue streams outside of the restore is what we call corporate build days. So companies, service groups, individuals, people having birthday parties, what have you, they contribute a donation, and then they get an exclusive day on site wherein they can participate in whatever activity we have going on. I don't recommend coming out at this time of year. It's pretty rough, but maybe when the weather gets a little bit warmer, will be something that we could entertain. Happy to introduce you to the right folks in the team to
Excellent.
discuss further.
Maybe that's something Jim could, and his group could, in our community services could coordinate, and we go out to a build day and we could bring in the summertime, bring the robotics students in and the scouts in and see if we could get some youth out to that too, so they get better experience in it. So because we're running a little late on time, I'm going to ask Norbert to thank the guest speaker.
Sean, I'm privileged to be selected, and thank you for your wonderful speech. Being new to the club here, I'm enlightened by the long-term cooperation between the club and Habitat for Humanity, and I can assure you that from what I see, this shall continue. It was so nice to see that in Canada had attached on the Habitat. You mentioned the stores and things like that, which is very visible part of it. So thank you for enlightening us. I'm your gatekeeper, and I'm sure that we visit for coming out in the future. We all appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Do you want to present this? No? So I'll let you know that Paul brought us our Imagine Rotary banner. We didn't have in-person training for the presidents and presidents-elect this year. So he's been carrying them around. So we'll get that scanned and put on the website. And Martina, you had some news about banners. Did anybody get back to you about that? Okay, no problem. So we're gonna. It's
Banners that.
yeah. So there was some information put out about the banner. Our next week there is no meeting. We're going to be doing the coldest end of the year, or coldest afternoon of the year. On the Saturday at 1 o'clock, we're going to meet at the Battlefield Park, and we're going to have a walk from the Battlefield Park to our Rotary Park downtown Stoney Creek. There's going to be a presentation for the Ralph Button Memorial Plaque. Got the name right this week. And we come back to the Battlefield Park, and we're going to have some signing. The only thing I ask is if I get some information about Ralph, because I'm trying to submit an article to the Spectator, the Stoney Creek News. So I'd like to put something out ahead of time, so if anybody knew Ralph, they might show up and join us on the thing. And Sarah, you had something?
Just make sure you join the team.
Oh, yes.
I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And once again, I forgot to get something for Happy Dollars.
Well, Mr. President is looking for officers. I had the book. I studied the pictures, and I want to pass it out to somebody else who will appreciate it as much as we and volunteer here.
So I'll start to play it off. Very happy to see the numbers, especially when I got up and saw how much ice was on my windshield this morning and how slippery my road was. I was like, oh, hopefully we'll have everybody show up and everybody safe. Bill, did you have some happy news today?
I do have some. But we need So sorry. Cheetah's talk on Hard Hill. Doug, and it all got me thinking of. Maybe I should go. Cardiac CT scan, and this coming Tuesday, I'm going for an interview. We'll grab with my version to an angioplasty if I need to stairs. So, you happy about that? Well, I'm happy. So, anyways. Today's was when I was running the health department, obviously a few months back. So you can do a lot
even though you have clogged artery, you don't realize. So don't take it for granted, but just because you're still able to participate. Great news. I think we're gonna have to stop Frank and start serving you guys Cheerios. Go ahead, Mike.
You have to learn about, and you could maybe take Bill's advice and hear all the smart people and maybe I should go through that. Miss if I that's what they have. See if I do what they're well maybe that's
And so that's okay.
see everybody.
Thank you. Did you have some happy news?
Well,
No, I'm talking. No, you do not have talking about this one. Sounds good, yes.
Family Day weekend, I hope everyone.
This happens. Excellent.
great presentation. Thanks, Bill, for scaring the Jesus out of me.
Oh, sorry, was there not a wedding over the last couple of weeks? Have I had that last? Did you do that? Okay, excellent. Just wanted to make sure. You're on camera. I want to make sure. Helen? Yeah.
Happy it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. And last Saturday, I had the privilege of going to Empowerment Squared's house. Their gymnasium. Fantastic. If you get the opportunity, please go. There was so many people there. Very appreciative. Our police force were there too. That usually come out. Great facility. It was really good. It's nice to see Leo.
I'm happy to have a new member to the cardiac club.
Yeah, what's your happy dollars?
I'm happy to be here in person. It has been, since late 2019 where I've actually been invited out to talk to a service club. And I didn't realize how great it is to see faces and people smiling and stuff. I'm not anti-mask by any means, but it's so nice to see people smile and to be in the company of wonderful people who are looking to help the community.
Excellent. I'm not going to convince you this week. Myra, what's your happy dollar?
Well, I'm just delighted that Sean got up so bright and early this morning to join us, but you do need to know that the meeting started at 5:15 a.m. for me out in Arizona. And my other happy buck is related to my personal best golf game this week that I had in Lake Havasu. So I was pretty happy about playing my personal best this week.
Tina?
So, and I'm sorry that we couldn't hear all the happy news going on in the room there. But it seems like there was lots of good news, or I don't know what the scary news was, but I hope everybody's okay. My happy dollar is that I have an old friend from England, well, a young old friend from England visiting. He's here on business, and I used to babysit him. I've known him since his mom was expecting him. I used to babysit him. He's now years old because I'm still 21, and so he's here on business, but he's coming here for the weekend. He's a former international rugby player for Wales, which is like playing hockey for Canada in Canada. That's what you aspire to in Wales. So I'm excited to be showing him around this weekend. That's my happy dollar. Thank you.
Linda, do you have some happy news?
I do. You said Linda, right?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure. I'm very happy that I could be here on Zoom today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to join. So I'm actually really grateful for the opportunities, the challenges that Zoom presents, but the opportunities that we receive from them. And I really enjoyed the presentation, and I'm sure to stop by on Nash Road.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. Hudson, do you have any happy news today? Hey, Hudson. Everybody wave at Hudson.
Can you wave? Can you wave to everybody? So we are happy to be with you through Zoom, but we would love to be there with you today. Unfortunately, Hudson was, I'm going to say diagnosed.
Just turn your microphone off on the. Good work, Hudson.
Sorry about that. So Hudson, we went to the doctors on Monday and he has a throat and ear infection. So we would have loved to be there with you today, but we are hanging out here. And we'll hopefully be at the next morning meeting for sure, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hudson. So our next meeting will be here on Friday. Team Ethical is going to be with Tom Kettle and Milena as the pod leaders, and the marshals, and Sarah and Helen and Rob Wells are part of that team. So they'll get me some information over the next week or so, and I'll get it posted on the website so we know what's going on. So I see our breakfast sandwiches are done, so I'll end the meeting and then you guys can go get a bite to eat. Thank you. Best wishes for a wonderful Rotary week. Toast to the Rotary of the world. So we have coffee and pastries out there, and we have a breakfast sandwich, an egg and tomato sandwich.
Wonderful.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Please help.
Bye. Bye.
I forgot to turn the recording off. So.